So good morning. We are to finish on that item of the mergers and acquisition. So we can check two more questions on that. We can check two more questions on the mergers and acquisition. So now we can check the one for November 2018, question number 4, part C. We check the one for November 2018, question number 4, part C. So the next question I want us to check, we can refer to November 2018, question 4C. November 2018. November 2018, question number 4C. So let us get through that question for November. November 2018, question number 4, part C. Now check the question for November 2018, question 4, part C. So that question should be, it should be on page 35. When you go to page 35, there is a question number 4, part C. So the question reads, Chilulu Industries Limited is considering acquisition of Roca Corporation Limited in the share-for-share exchange. In the share-for-share exchange. So the financial data for the two companies, are given below. So they have given you Chilulu Limited and also Roca Limited sales, net earnings, then ordinary shares outstanding, ordinary share market price per share, and also the dividend per share. Then additional information, Chilulu Limited is not willing to incur an initial dilution in its earnings per share. Initial dilution in its earnings per share. So Chilulu Limited will have to offer a minimum 25% of the Roca Limited current share market price. So required, Roma letter 1, they wanted you to compute the relevant offer price range. Roma letter 2, they want you to come up with, if Roca Limited shareholders accept an offer of Chilulu Limited of shillings 14 per share in the share-for-share exchange, they wanted you to determine the post-merger earning per share. Then Roma letter 2, using the results obtained in seeing Roma letter 2 above, and assuming that Chilulu Limited price earning ratio would remain unchanged after the merger, determine the post-acquisition market price of the share for the Chilulu Limited. So you can first check what is there in the Roman letter 1. Roman letter 1 is simply relevant range of the offer price. So they have talked something about note number 1, non-diluting. They will not incur any dilution. That means we need to come up with non-diluting offer price. Then Roma letter 2, they are talking about minimum offer price. So to compute that range, we simply get the difference between non-diluting offer price minus the minimum offer price. So those are the two items in the note number 1 and note number 2 for you to get the relevant offer price range. So that range, we start by computing non-diluting offer price. The Roma letter 2 will also compute the minimum offer price. In the process, we shall be getting what is supposed to be the range. So we start by computing the non-diluting offer price. We start by calculating non-diluting offer price. Remember the non-diluting offer price, it is supposed to be given by the price earning ratio. The price earning ratio of the predator of the predator of the predator before the merger. Before the merger, then we multiply by earning per share of the target. Earning per share of the target also before the merger. Earning per share of the target also before the merger. So when you want to compute the non-diluting offer price, it is simply the price earning ratio of the predator before merger. We multiplied by earning per share of the target also before the merger. Earning per share of the target also before the merger. So the challenge in the question, we have not been given the earning per share, but we can still be able to compute that because the question gave you the net earnings and the number of the ordinary shares. So we start with calculating first the earning per share for each firm. Earning per share, remember it is supposed to be given by the earnings available. Earnings available, which is the same as earnings after the tax. Earnings available, which is the same as the earnings after tax. Then we divide by number of the ordinary shares. We divide by the number of the ordinary shares like that. So to get the earning per share, we simply come up with the earnings available. Then we divide by the number of the ordinary shares. So we start with the earning per share for Chilulu Limited. We start with the earning per share for Chilulu Limited. For Chilulu Limited. So earning per share for Chilulu Limited, you take the net earnings, which is 30 million shillings. Net earnings is 30 million shillings. The number of ordinary shares outstanding, they have been given as 6 million. The number of the ordinary shares outstanding, they were able to give you as 6 million. So that should be able to give you the earning per share for Chilulu Limited. So it should be able to give us around how much? So this one will be 5. We also compute earning per share of Roca Limited. Earning per share also for Roca Limited. Earning per share also for Roca Limited. So for Roca Limited, you also confirm in the question, what do you have there as the earnings available? Earnings available are 12 millions. The number of the ordinary shares for Roca Limited is 2 million. So that will also be able to give you earning per share for us. So giving us which figure? 6. So now after that, we should be able to compute the non-diluting offer price. Remember, price earning ratio is the same as market price per share divided by the earning per share. This price earning ratio, you simply take the market price per share, you divide by the earning per share. So non-diluting offer price, to get now the non-diluting offer price, the non-diluting offer price, we simply take the market price per share for Chilulu, which has been given as how much? The ordinary share market price per share for Chilulu. How much? So we take 50, divide by the earning per share, which you have calculated is 5. Then that's now the price earning ratio of the predator. Chilulu is the predator. So multiplied by the earning per share of the target. The target is Roca Limited. That figure is 6. So that should be able to give you the non-diluting offer price. It should be able to give you the non-diluting offer price. To give us 60. Yeah, so after that, we should also compute the minimum offer price. So we get now the range. We should also be able to come up with the minimum offer price. Minimum offer price is there in the note number 2. When you check through the note number 2, you should be able to come up with the minimum offer price. You should be able to get now the minimum offer price. So minimum offer price, minimum offer price, the minimum offer price. Minimum offer price in the note number 2. They say that Chilolo Limited would have to offer a minimum of 40%. 25% of Rocker's current market price per share. So get 25% of the Rocker Limited price per share. What is the market price per share for Rocker Limited? The market price per share for Rocker Limited, I've given you 40 shillings. So get 25% of 40. That will give you the minimum share offer price. That is given to you in the note number 2, where they say that Chilolo Limited will have to offer a minimum of 25% of Rockers Limited current share market price. So that is now what we shall be able to have. So once we have calculated that, we can now get the range, the offer price range. We can now get the offer price range. We can now get the offer price range. The offer price range. So offer price range, it will be given by non-diluting offer price minus the minimum offer price. Non-diluting offer price, we got which figure? This non-diluting offer price was, so you take 60, subtract the minimum offer price, which you are saying is how much? 10. So that will give you the offer price range. That will give you the offer price range. Simply get the difference between, because they have given you information in the note number 1 and the note number 2. Note 1, they talked about they are not willing to incur any initial dilution in the earning per share. That means that will be non-diluting offer price. Then note number 2, they are talking about minimum offer price, which is supposed to be 25% of the Rockers Limited current share price. So the difference between the two should now be able to give you the offer price range. So that's now the Roman letter 1. We go to Roman letter 2. We check now the Roman letter 2. Roman letter 2, they say that if Rockers Limited share price, accept an offer by Chilolo's Limited of 40 shillings per share in the share for share exchange, determine the post-merger earning per share. So this is the share for share exchange. First, get the exchange ratio. Once you get the exchange ratio, you get how many shares will be issued. Then after that, we can now be able to get the earning per share of the predator after the merger. So let us first calculate the exchange ratio. We shall first be required to compute the exchange ratio. Exchange ratio is supposed to be given by offer price by the predator. We get the offer price by the predator. Then you divide by market price per share of the predator. Market price per share of the predator, like that. So when you want to calculate exchange ratio, it is simply offer price by the predator. We divide by the market price per share of that predator. So in that Roman letter 2, offer price has been given as 40 shillings. In the Roman letter 2, the offer price is given as 14 shillings. That's what is given. Then we divide by market price per share for Chilolo Limited. That ordinary share market price for Chilolo, it is given as which figure? 50. So divide by 50, we get that exchange ratio. So 4:5. So it is 4:5. So once we do that, we want to get the shares to be issued. Now we come up with the shares to be issued. We come up with the shares to be issued. So to compute the shares to be issued, for every 4 shares, the predator will issue 4 shares in order to acquire 5 shares of the target. That means that the predator will give 4 shares in order to acquire the 5 shares of the target. So the target is Roca Limited. Roca Limited had how many million ordinary shares outstanding? It has got 2 million ordinary shares. It has got 2 million ordinary shares. So how many shares should be issued now to get the 4 million ordinary shares? Sorry? Not 1.6. So this will be 1.6 million shares. So once we have done that, we now come up with what is supposed to be the post-merger earning per share of the predator. So I had already given you the formula for that. You remember the combined earnings? It was the combined earnings we divide by existing number of the ordinary shares of the predator. We add the new shares to be issued. So to get the combined earnings are the net earnings. So this one is 30 millions. We add the one for Roca Limited, it is 12 millions. So divide by existing number of the ordinary shares of Chilulu, which is 6 millions. Then you add the new shares to be issued, which is 1.6 million. So it is the share for share exchange. When the share for share exchange, to get the earning per share of the predator, it is simply the combined earnings of the 2 companies divided by existing number of the shares of the predator. You add the new shares to be issued in order to acquire the target. So that was the formula we were using yesterday, how to compute the earning per share of the predator, just in case it is the share for share exchange. So when you compute, what should be that particular earning per share? 5.52. When you round off to 2 decimal places, will be 5.1. 5.5. 311. So that now should be able to give you what is supposed to be the earning per share of the predator after the merger. So if you are to compute the one for the target, if you are to get the one for the target, if you are, but the question did not ask, sometimes they normally ask. So if you are to get the one for the target of earning per share of the target. So anything for the target, we say that it is simply the exchange ratio multiplied by the one of the predator. Exchange ratio is 4/5 multiplied by the one for the predator, which you have been able to get 5.53 like that. So anything for the target, you simply take the exchange ratio, you multiply by the one for the predator. Anything for the target, you simply take the exchange ratio, you multiply the one for the predator. So it will give us how much? 4.42. Yeah, so that is just in case they ask anything for the target. Once you have computed for the predator, anything for the target, whether the earning per share the market price per share or the price earning ratio. Simply take the one for the predator multiplied by the exchange ratio. So we go to the Roman letter 3. We go to the Roman letter 3. So Roman letter 3, they were saying that using the results obtained in seeing Roman letter 2 above, and assuming that Chilulu limited price earning ratio would remain unchanged after the merger, determine the post-acquisition market price per share for Chilulu Limited. So they would like you now to get the price per share for Chilulu after the merger, the price per share of Chilulu after the merger. So the concept there is the price earning ratio. The concept that you have there, it is simply the price earning ratio. So price earning ratio, the price earning ratio, the price earning ratio, it is simply market price per share divided by the earnings per share. So we make market price per share to be the subject. We make market price per share to be the subject. It will be given by the price earning ratio, the price earning ratio multiplied by earnings per share. So it will simply be given by the price earning ratio multiplied by the earning per share. So they are asking you to compute the positive margin, market price per share of the predator. So that price per share is the one after the merger. So it should be given by the price earning ratio, the price earning ratio multiplied by also the post-merger earning per share of the predator, earning per share of the predator. So they want this price after the merger for the predator, but they have said price earning ratio does what? What have they commented about the price earning ratio? It remains unchanged, and that is the rule. Price earning ratio would never change, would always remain constant. So we already know how to get the price earning ratio. Price earning ratio was market price per share divided by the earning per share. What was the market price for Chilulu? The market price per share for Chilulu, it was which figure? It was 50. We also calculated earning per share for Chilulu. When we started the question, what was the earning per share for Chilulu? Sorry? Yeah, so you divide by 5. So now this one is the post-merger earning per share for the predator. This that you have computed. Hii ilikuwa 5 ama 6? Ilikuwa 5. Yeah, so this one is what you have here. This 5.53. So that should now give you the price per share for Chilulu after the merger. The price per share for Chilulu after the merger. The price per share for Chilulu after the merger. So that should give you which figure? You get 55 points. Yeah, so the concept of mergers and acquisition are simply these 3 items. Everything is about market price per share, earning per share, or the price earning ratio. So evaluation for a merger has only 3 items: the price per share, earning per share, and the price earning ratio. All the questions we have done, they are simply revolving around that element. So one more other question. Let us check December 2014. December 2014, question number 4, part B. We check December 2014, question number 4, part B. So get December 2014, question number 4, part B. So we go to December 2014. Question number 4, part B. Check on page 70. When you go to page 70, that is where you will get the question for December 2014. Question number 4, part B. Question number 4, part B. So that question 4, part B, that question number 4, part B, it says that Mijengo Limited, a company in the real estate development, intends to acquire Saruji Limited. It intends to acquire Saruji Limited, a manufacturer of the high quality cement. So there are 3 methods of financing. Method 1, they have concluded that a cash offer of 10 shillings per share for Saruji's Limited. Then method 2, an offer of 3 of Mijengo Limited share for 2 of Saruji's Limited share. That's now the share for share exchange. But the first one is simply meant to be the cash payment. Then when you go to C, method 3, an offer of 2% coupon bond, shillings 100 per value, at the same yield to maturity as the Mijengo's Limited existing bond in the exchange for 8 Saruji Limited share. The bond will be redeemed in 3 years at par. The bond will be redeemed in 3 years at par. So the latest financial statement of the 2 companies are as follows. So they gave you Mijengo Limited and also Saruji Limited. So when you go to the next page, and they continue to say that the current market price was given as 7.2 per share for Mijengo Limited. And it is estimated that Saruji's price earning ratio will be 12.5% higher than Mijengo's Limited current price to earning ratio. Mijengo's Limited and current liability will include the 6% bond, 100 shillings per value, redeemable in 3 years at par, at which is currently trading at 104 shillings. The ordinary shares of Mijengo Limited, and Saruji Limited, they have a bar value of 0.8. So Mijengo Limited estimate that it could achieve synergy savings of 30% of Saruji's Limited estimated equity value by eliminating duplicated administrative functions, selling excess non-current assets, and reducing the workforce if the acquisition was to be successful. So required, they were asking you to estimate the percentage gain or loss on Saruji's Limited share under each of the above 3 payment methods. So what we want to do is that a capital gain is the difference between the price at the beginning and the price at the end. So for mergers and acquisition, a gain is the difference between the offer price and the market price per share of the target. It's simply the difference between the offer price and the market price per share for the target. So the question had given you the financial data. So in that financial data, we need to do some workings on each one of them. We need to do some small workings on each one of them because they are simply asking to get the price per share. So price per share is what is required in order to get the capital gain. So we analyze each one of them. When we check Mijengo Limited, we were not given the number of the ordinary shares. Then also we don't have the earning per share. Then also we don't have the price earning ratio. So we shall be analyzing those details under each method so that we will be able to come up with a capital gain. So that we will be able to come up with the capital gain. So we do some workings. We need to do some workings on all of them. So one of the working, so we start with the one for Mijengo Limited. We start with the one for Mijengo Limited. We start with the one for Mijengo Limited. So under Mijengo Limited, I will start by computing number of the ordinary shares. They are not given. We need to get the number of the ordinary shares. Number of the ordinary shares because they were not given. So to get the number of the ordinary shares, I want you to check in the question. Are you able to see the share capital? As share capital under Mijengo Limited, they have given us a figure of 8.8 millions. So you take the ordinary share capital divided by the bar value per share. The bar value per share was given in the additional information on the next page. You remember at the end of the first paragraph on the next page? At the end of the first paragraph on the next page, they have talked about ordinary shares for Mijengo and Seruji. They have a bar value of 0.8. So to get the number of the ordinary shares, simply take the ordinary share capital, which they gave you 8.8 millions like that. So divide by the bar value on the second last paragraph on the next page, which is 0.8, which is meant to be 0.8. So that should give you the number of the ordinary shares. So how many ordinary shares will be there? Sorry, it is 11 millions. So after getting the number of the ordinary shares, we shall also be required to compute the earning per share. We also need to get the earning per share. Remember, earnings per share, it should be given by earnings available. Earnings available, which is the same as the earnings after tax. Earnings available, which is the same as earnings after tax. Then now you divide by the number of the ordinary shares. Number of the ordinary shares. So go to the income statement. The profit after tax. Are you able to see the profit before tax? Then they less the tax. So the balance there will be the earnings after tax. They have not indicated, but the figure between tax and the dividend, that's what it means by earnings after the tax. So that earnings after tax for Mijengo, they have given you which figure? Yeah, so you take the 9.9 millions, divide by the number of the ordinary shares, which you have seen there how many? There are 11 millions. So that should give you what is meant to be the earning per share. That is what should be able to give you the earnings per share. So that earnings per share should be which figure? 0 points. There are already millions, so it is cannot be millions. The 0 point what? So just be 0.9 like that. So that's now the earning per share. But we also need to get the price earning ratio. So price earning ratio, it will be market price per share divided by the earnings per share. Also to compute the price earning ratio, it is simply market price per share divided by the earning per share. So in that next part on the next page, that first paragraph on the next page, the question starts by saying that the current market price for Mijengo Limited is how much? Yeah, so that market price per share is 7.2. Also divided by 0.9. That should now be able to give you the price earning ratio for Mijengo Limited. The price earning ratio. Yeah, so that is now all for the workings for Mijengo. Let us also do the same working for Saruji. We also do the same workings for Saruji Limited. We also do the same workings for Saruji Limited. Also do the same working workings for Saruji Limited. So the starting point is also the number of the ordinary shares. So we also need to come up with number of the ordinary shares. So to get the number of the ordinary shares, you have seen the share capital for Saruji. Tumepewa 1 million. So the bar value for all of them was 0.1. They were 0.8. The bar value for all of them was 0.8. So how many shares should we have at that level? 1.25. So that is the number of the ordinary share. Then we should also be able to calculate the earnings per share. Earning per share, remember, it is the earnings after the tax. For earnings available, divide by number of the ordinary shares. You divide by the number of the ordinary shares. So earnings after tax for Saruji, it is how much? The earnings, it is 1 million. So this, the number of the shares were also the same. Yeah. So that means what should be your earning per share? The earning per share is going to be 1. The earning per share is simply going to be 1 from there. Then after that, we should also compute the price earning ratio. We should also get the price earning ratio. But the price earning ratio for this one, they gave you some additional information on that. So I want you to check on that second last paragraph. When you go to the second last paragraph, after the share price of 7.2 of Mijengo Limited, it is estimated that Saruji's limited price earning ratio will be what? 12.5% higher than the one for Mijengo. So you already have calculated the one for Mijengo. The price earning ratio for Mijengo was how much from our workings? It was 8. So you increase it by 12.5% because it will be higher by 12.5%. So simply get 12.5% of 8. That will give you the price earning ratio for Saruji. You simply take the one for Mijengo, you increase it by 12.5%. So increasing it by 12.5%, simply take 12.5% of the 8, which is going to give us how much? In 9. Another challenge, you are not given now the market price per share for Saruji. There was no market price per share for Saruji. So let us also compute the market price per share for Saruji. The one that was given was for Mijengo. So let us also calculate market price per share for Saruji. The concept there is again the price earning ratio. So to get the market price per share for Saruji, simply take the price earning ratio multiplied by the earnings per share. So to come up with market price per share for Saruji, simply take the price earning ratio multiplied by the earning per share. So price earning ratio is 9, earning per share is 1. Yeah, so that is now how you are to get the market price per share for Saruji. It was not given. So now we answer the question. Those were the workings that were necessary for you to answer the question. So Let us now see how to get the capital gain for each of the three methods. Because the question was asking you, estimate the percentage gain or loss on Saruji's limited shares under each of the above three payment methods. Under each of the above three payment methods. So the first one, it is a cash offer. So we start off with method one. We start off with method one. So method one is about the cash offer. So we go to method one, which is meant to be the cash offer. So this one is now method one, which is about the cash offer of 10 shillings. Of shillings 10, like that. So method one is a cash offer of 10 shillings. So they want you to get the percentage gain or loss. So to get the percentage gain, it is simply going to be given by P1 minus PO divided by PO, express it as a percentage. When you want to get the gain, P1 is now the offer price. P1 is the offer price, then PO is the current market price of that Saruji Limited. So we take the offer price, we minus the current price of Saruji, that will give you the gain. But we want it in form of a percentage. We also divide again by the current price. So they have offered you a price of how much? 10. So under this method, they have offered you 10. So PO, we have just calculated market price per share for Saruji. We got which figure in our case? We got 9. So the market price per share for Saruji is 9, but they are offering them 10. The difference is the gain, but you want to get it as a percentage. You divide again by 9, then you express it as a percentage. So that now will be the gain to Saruji under method one. You simply take the offer price minus the current market price. The difference will be the capital gain, but express it as a percentage. Then you come up with a figure for that. So what will be the gain for that? Yeah, so that is 11.11. So we go to method two. We now go to method two. Method two, they are saying that an offer of 3 of Mijengo's limited share for every 2 shares of Saruji Limited. So now it is share for share exchange. That method two is the share for share exchange. Method two is now meant to be share for share exchange. So this is now the method two. So method two, it is share for share exchange. Share for share exchange. So when it comes to share for share exchange, we shall get the market price per share of the predator. Then we get the market price per share of the target. After the merger, then we get now the gain. So the starting point, we need to get the total market value of equity. After the merger, we need to get total market value. Total market value of equity after the merger. Total market value of equity after the merger for the predator. After the merger. After the merger for the predator. So you want to know the total market value of equity after the merger for the predator. So we start with the market value for the ordinary shares. So Mijengo Limited, when you check in the question, Mijengo Limited, it had how many number of ordinary shares we calculated? Mijengo ilikuwa na how many ordinary shares? It was 11 million. It is current market price in the second last paragraph. You remember that price was how much? It was 7.2 multiplied by 7.2. So that we get the market value of the shares from General Limited. So that's 9 exactly 9.2. So we also add the one for Saruji. We also add the one for Saruji. So Saruji Limited, we calculated it is number of the ordinary share. There were 1.25 million. Then at the end of the working for Saruji, we also got the market price per share for Saruji. So multiplied by 9, we get the value for that. Multiplied by 9, we get the value for that. 11.25. So another item I want you also to check in the last paragraph. Check what is there in the last paragraph. That last paragraph, you are told that Mijengo Limited estimates that it could achieve some synergy savings of 40%. 30% of Saruji's limited estimated equity value. So this is the equity value for Saruji. The market value of the ordinary shares. That is now the equity value. So they are saying that it could achieve that synergy by eliminating the duplicated what? Administrative functions, selling excess non-current assets, and also reducing what? The workforce. So we also add the synergy. We shall also add on that figure the synergy savings. We shall also be able to add the synergy savings. So that synergy savings, they are saying it is 30% of the equity value for Saruji. Saruji equity value is the 11.25 million. Saruji equity value is 11.25 million. So when you get 30% of that, will be how much? 3.375. So now add them together to give you total market value for equity. After that, we get the total market value of equity after. We come up with the total market value for equity after. Sorry? 93.825. So after that, we should also get the total number of the ordinary shares for Mijengo after the merger, so that we divide that by those number of the ordinary shares to get the market price per share for Saruji. Sorry, for Mijengo. Then from there, we use the exchange ratio to get the one for Saruji. So total number of the ordinary shares, total number of the ordinary shares after the merger. After the merger, total number of the ordinary shares after the merger. So currently, we know Mijengo has got how many shares? we calculated the number of the ordinary shares from Mijengo. There were how many?
11.
There were 11. So we add the shares to be issued. We add the shares to be issued to acquire Saruji. The question gave you the exchange ratio. Can you check under method 2? What are we given as the exchange ratio? Under method 2. Under method 2, exchange ratio is given. An offer of 3 of Mijengo's limited share for 2 of Saruji limited shares. So shares to be issued, it is 3 over 2 multiplied by the shares of Saruji limited. So that we get the number of the shares to be issued. So how many shares were there for Saruji? It was 1 point. Yeah, so from there, you will now get the total shares after the merger, whereby you take existing number of the ordinary shares of the Predator, you add the new shares to be issued. New shares to be issued, you simply confirm that if the Predator is offering 3 shares to acquire 2 shares, but the target had 1.25 million. So how many shares were to be issued at that point? So how many total shares would now be? 7? 12.7? 12.87? Like that. So now after that, we get the market price per share of the Predator. We now get the market price per share of the Predator after the merger. So that market price per share of the Predator after the merger, simply take that market value of equity, which is 93.825 million, divided by the number of the ordinary shares, which are 12.875. So that now will give you the market price per share for the Predator after the merger. That now will give you market price per share of the Predator after the merger. That will give you market price per share of the Predator after the merger. So we need to get the one for the target. We need to get the one for the target so that we come up with, we need now to get the one for the target. So to compute the market price per share of the target, Saruji is the target. Simply take exchange ratio multiplied by market price per share of the Predator. Market price per share of the Predator. So anything for the target, you simply take the exchange ratio multiplied by the one for the Predator. So exchange ratio is already given. It is 3 over 2. Market price per share of the Predator, we have just calculated, is 12.875. So that should be able now to give you sorry? What balance? CO 12. Oh, sorry. It is 7.29. So to now give us it here. 10 points. So you get 10.94. So now you compute the capital gain, the percentage gain. So from there, we now come up with the percentage gain. So percentage gain, simply take now the offer price, which is now our 10.94. We minus what was there initially as the price per share. Nakumbuka the 9. We remain the same like that. Our PO will remain the same as method 1. That was the current price for Saruji. So what do we have there as the name? 21.56. So finally we go to method 3. We now check what should be there for method 3. When it comes to method 3, an offer of 2% coupon bond, shillings 100 per, at the same yield to maturity as Mijengo's limited existing bond, in exchange for 8 Saruji limited shares. The bond will be redeemed in 3 years at par. The bond will be redeemed in 3 years at par. So we need to get the value of the bond. That value of the bond will be equivalent to 8 ordinary shares of Saruji. Are you able to see that part? Yeah, we need to get the value of that bond. Then once we get the value for the bond, divide by 8 ordinary shares of Saruji. So that we get now the price per share of Saruji when we use the bond. But now we don't have the discounting rate to get the value for the bond. So to get the value for the bond, we need to get the discounting rate. But they have said the discounting rate will be the same as what? The yield to maturity. The discounting rate will be the same as yield to maturity of Mijengo's limited existing bond. In the paragraph number 2, the second last, you can go to the second last paragraph, where they gave you, where they were able to give you about Mijengo's limited current price to the earning ratio. They continued that non-current liabilities include what? 6% bond, shillings what? 100 per, redeemable in 3 years at a bar, and which is currently trading at how much? 104. So you compute the yield to maturity from that area. You calculate, which will be the same as your discounting rate. We calculate the yield to maturity from that point, that level. So to get the yield to maturity, for us to come up with the yield to maturity, which will be our discounting rate. Yield to maturity is supposed to be given by interest, then 1 minus the corporate tax. We add maturity value minus the current value, then 1 over n, like that. We also divide by maturity value. We add the current value, but this one must be a half. Then you show it as a percentage. Then you show that figure as a percentage. So we need to identify those variables from that particular paragraph. So the first thing is to get the interest. First, let us get interest from that point. We need to come up with interest. So check at that level. Are you able to see the interest rate? In that second last part, are you able to see 6%? Yes. And the bar value is 100. So get 6% of 100. Get 6% of 100. What will be 6% of 100? 86. Then we say that maturity value, unless otherwise stated, which is normally the same as the bar value, which is still 100. But the current value for that debenture, they have said that it is currently trading at how much? 104. It is currently trading at 104. So N is given as how many years? It is 3 years. So the question had no tax provided. They did not give us the corporate tax. So we assume it will be 0. We assume it will be 0. So now we can get our yield to maturity. Interest is 6, then 1 minus 0. Then we add. Maturity value is 100. Current value is 104. So 1/3, like that. We also divide by 100. We add 104, but this one multiply a half. Then express it as a percentage. Then we express it as a percentage. So that should be able to give you our yield to maturity, which will be the same as the discounting rate. The yield to maturity, which will be the same as our discounting rate, so that we apply it to come up with what is supposed to be the value for the bond. You can round it off to 2 decimal places. We can round it off into 2 decimal places. So anyone who has computed, when you round it off into 4 decimal places, it's supposed to be which figure? Sorry? 4.5? When you round off to 2 decimal places, 4.56. When we round it off into 2 decimal places, online you are getting which figure? It should be 4.58. Online you confirm. So most of them are getting 4.58. So we can use the 4.58 as our discounting rate. We can use the 4.58 as our discounting rate. So let us now get the value for the bond. After getting the discounting rate, let us now get what should be the value of the bond. What should now be the value of the bond? Let us now come up with what is supposed to be the value of the bond. So now to get value of the bond, now to get the value of the bond, you want to see how to get the value of the bond. So to get the value of the bond, so value of the bond, it is supposed to be given by the present value of the interest. Present value of the interest. Then we also have present value of the maturity value. Present value of the maturity value. So to get value of the bond, simply get the present value of the interest. Then we also add present value of the maturity value. So we come up first with the interest. We shall first compute the interest under method 3. You can see under method 3, they gave us our what percent. It is 2% coupon bond, and the bar value is also what? 100. So interest, get 2%. 2% of 100. Get the 2% of 100, which should be 2. So maturity value, unless otherwise stated, the same as what? The bar value. The maturity value, unless otherwise stated, will be the same as the bar value. So We now get the present value of the interest. Present value of the interest. So to come up with the present value for the interest, it is simply the annuity multiplied by the present value interest factor for the annuity. So that discounting rate, you have said, is 4.58. It is 4.58 for 3 years. So this annuity is the interest per annum, which is 2 shillings. So 4.58, remember it is not in the table, and you recall the formula, 1 minus 1 plus r raised to the power of negative n divided by r, because it is an annuity. An annuity is the same figure every year for 3 years. So you compute that portion, whereby it should be 1 minus 1 plus 0.0458 raised to the power of negative 3 divided by 0.0458. So the figure we get, remember to round it off into 4 decimal places. The figure you get, remember to round it off into 4 decimal places. The figure we get, remember to round it off into 4 decimal places so that we can be able to use it. In our pair, which figure? 2.7,448. After 7, we have which figure? 4 twice. Then, so that will give you present value for the interest. Then we also add present value of the maturity value. Present value of the maturity value. So maturity value, we just take the 100 multiplied by, it only occur once, 4.5% for 3 years. Maturity value will only occur once. We are supposed to use the first table. So it will be 100. So when you are using the first table and it is not in the table, it is normally 1 plus r raised to the power of negative n. So when you are using the first table and the figure is not in the table, it is normally 1 plus r raised to the power of negative n. So also compute 1 plus 0.0458, also raised to the power of negative 3. Also that figure, you round it off into 4 decimal places. Itakuwa 0.8743. Yeah, so now multiply by these figures and let's get these values. Then add them together to give you the value for the bond. So that we get the value for the bond. So that we come up with the value for the bond. Get the value of the bond. So that bond is being converted into 8 ordinary shares of Saruji Limited. That bond was being converted into 8 ordinary shares of Saruji Limited. So let us get the market price per share. So what value are we getting as the value for the bond? 92.9196. So divide by 8 ordinary shares. It is being converted into 8 ordinary shares of Saruji. So what should be now the price per share for Saruji at that level? Nakuja 11 points. 11.61. So get now the percentage capital gain. The percentage capital gain. Remember P1 minus PO, also divide by PO, expresses as a percentage. So P1, we know it is 11 point now. So PO, we recall the 9. 9 will not change. The current market price for Saruji remains 9. So that now is meant to give you what is supposed to be. What is supposed to be. So if you are to advise which is the best method, compare all of them. I want you to compare all of them and see which one is giving you a higher percentage capital gain. Which would be the best option, assuming you are to advise them? The one for the bond. Yes. Yeah, so the advice is now that select the bond. Select the bond. Select the bond as it relates to a higher capital gain. Select the bond as it will lead to a higher capital gain. Select the bond as it will lead to a higher capital gain. So that is now what we can be able to have in relation to that question. So that now concludes our topic for the mergers and acquisition. That now will conclude the topic for the mergers and acquisition. We have done 5 questions. Then I gave you the handout for the mergers and acquisition. Make sure that you read that handout because most of the time they will test your questions on the merger. So today we start a new topic as restructuring and reorganization. Online, I've sent some notes to the class. So then, yeah. So we have now been able to complete the mergers and the acquisition. And as I had informed you for the last 8 sittings consistently, they have been testing a question on the mergers and acquisition. They combine both the theory and the computation. So make sure that you go through that handout. It has all those theory questions they have been testing on that handout. So today I'm saying we start on the restructuring and reorganization. So online, confirm whether you have seen the notes for the restructuring and reorganization. Confirm whether you can see some notes on your class group, the restructuring or reorganization. You want to check on that element on the, so that small handout has been highly summarized, but I've summarized it to tailor to what is normally asked in your questions. So anyone who read that handout and also read the one for the restructuring, because when it comes to restructuring, they are simply saying that it is the process of changing the capital structure of the company, and it is carried out as part of the corporate restructuring. So corporate restructuring is as a result of the changes in the capital structure, operations, changes in the core business activities, and also changes in the assets of the company, changes of the management team in order to improve the value of the company and enhance the shareholders' returns. So that's now what we mean by the restructuring. We do a lot of changes in the organization to ensure that it's able to make some gains. So that those changes are not only from the capital side. You also change the operation. You can even change the product of the company to ensure that it makes the profit for your business. So that part is key. They have talked about changing the core business activities. You can also even change the management team, whereby you hire new staff in terms of the top management, then you will also be able to come up with the value for that. Then I've given you the corporate restructuring is carried out into 3 as follows: financial restructuring, portfolio restructuring, and organizational restructuring. When it comes to the financial restructuring, it is where the capital structure of the company is changed. And it is normally carried out by companies which are facing what? Financial problems. Then I've given you reasons for the financial restructuring. Those reasons are the same, whether you are doing the portfolio restructuring or organizational restructuring, because all of them, they follow under the issue to do with the finances. So if you can refer to one of the questions for the last sitting, check December 2021. December 2021. I would like you to check a question. I want you to check a question number 3 on page 5. When you check on page 5, there is a question number 3, part A. There is a question number 3, part A. So that question 3, part A, on December 2021, question 3, part A, on page 5, they were said that different companies have varied aims and timings for undertaking the corporate restructuring. However, the single common objective in every restructuring exercise is to minimize the disadvantages and what? Maximize the advantages. So comment on the above statement, highlighting 5 reasons for undertaking the corporate what? Restructuring. So I've simply simplified those reasons for that element for the financial restructuring. It is basically part of the corporate restructuring to reduce the debts of the company on them to the manageable level. Also to stabilize the company so that investors will be able to inject the new capital, then to survive recession in the market, to avoid liquidation of the company. So all of them are there. I've also given you, when it comes to business reorganization, you can see also the next one. I've given the objectives of the business reorganization. So I would like you to take some time to read that part, because anyone, if you can also refer to question 4 part A, you can see question 4 part A on that level. That question was about the defensive tactics available for what? For the company that is facing a hostile. So those ones are the ones under the mergers and acquisition. They have been listed on that. Then still on that question 3 part B, still on that question 3 part B, that question 3 part B, they were asking to distinguish between the following terms in relation to the corporate what? Restructuring and reorganization. So if you check on that page number 3, When you go to page 3, you can see part B on page 3, the compulsory what? Maona hapo juu page 3, B, about the compulsory unbundling. So I've said this is necessary in the case of the hostile what? Takeover or the government policy decision. The following are some of the ways of unbundling of the company. There is divestment, there is mergers or demerger, there is the spin-off, sell-off, equity, then liquidation or winding up of the company, management buyout or management buy-in. So read through them. You can see that part B, Roman letter 1. They want to distinguish between the merger and what? The spin-off. Then Roman letter 2, management buyout and management buy-in. All those terms are simplified there. When it comes to the management buyout, check on page 4. They are saying that this occurs when the executive managers of the business join the financing institution in order to buy the business they are currently doing what? Managing. So the managers may provide the larger portfolio of the finances so that they have a majority shareholding. It is also a process which takes place when the business unit or the subsidiary is sold to the executive managers of the company. It is therefore a form of investment in the company's manager by managers who acquire the shares of the. That's now what I mean by management buyout. Management buy-in, it is where a group of managers outside the business acquire the business. So that's now the terms that we should be able to check. So I want you people to get sometimes you read that small handout, because anyone who read only those 2 handouts will easily get almost 30% of the theory. Will almost get 30% of the theory from that level. So take time, you check through those theories. So mine, I will go to the computation side of the restructuring or reorganization. So we shall have a brief subtopic on that as valuation of securities under business. We are under the business, we are under restructuring under reorganization. Under the topic of restructuring under reorganization, you can have a brief subtopic as valuation, as the valuation of the securities. Valuation of the securities and the business. We can have something brief about valuation of the securities and business. Valuation of the securities and the business. So under the evaluation of securities and the business, you can also have another small paragraph as valuation of the ordinary shares. We can also have a brief paragraph there as valuation of the ordinary shares. We can also have something brief about valuation of the ordinary shares. So under the valuation for the ordinary shares, we can introduce by noting that ordinary shares are variable return securities. Ordinary shares are variable return securities, which are classified into 2 categories as follows. Which are classified into 2 categories as follows. So number one will be constant dividend growth rate ordinary shares. Number 1 will be the constant dividend growth rate ordinary shares. Constant dividend growth rate ordinary shares. The number 2 will be non-constant dividend growth rate ordinary shares. Non-constant dividend growth rate ordinary shares. Non-constant dividend growth rate ordinary shares. The non-constant. So we shall start off with the one which are. We start with the first one, which is meant to be the constant dividend growth rate ordinary shares. We start with the first one, which is supposed to be constant dividend growth rate ordinary shares. So under that, we simplify that the value of the security, the value of the security is the present value. The value of the security is the present value, of all the expected future benefits, is the present value of all the expected future benefits, of all the expected future benefits that can be realized, of all the expected future benefits that can be realized, from the security, that can be realized from the security, Therefore, the theoretical value of the ordinary share, will be expressed as follows. The theoretical value of the ordinary share will be expressed as follows. The theoretical value of the ordinary share will be expressed as follows. So this is now how we shall be able to compute the theoretical value of the ordinary share, whereby PO is supposed to be given by TO, then 1 plus G. We divide by KE, we minus G. So to get the value of the share, it will simply be given by TO in the brackets of 1 plus G. We divide by KE minus G. So that formula, we had used it before. When you are calculating the cost of the ordinary share, when you are computing KE, now we are making PO to be the subject. Yeah, we were calculating KE under the breakpoint. When we did some questions on the breakpoint, we calculated KE. But now we make PO to be the subject. So when you want now to get the value for the share, it is simply DO in the brackets of 1 plus G, then KE minus G. So this is the same as D1 divided by KE minus G at that point. It is the same as KE D1 divided by KE minus G at that level. So I want us to stop there. When we meet now, the first question we shall be looking at will be June 2013. We shall start with the question for June 2013. Question number 1, part B. June 2013, question number 1, part B. So in the next 2 lessons, we must have been able to finish this restructuring and reorganization so that we now go to the financial derivatives. So by next week, we should be dealing with the last topic, which is the financial derivatives. Those are the international finance. So this Saturday, so not Saturday, nakuanga available Saturday sana. Ati, yoni wa combine na watu hivi. They have a class on Saturday sana. I was asking whether you are normally available at 2, from 2. Amoko available? Sorry? Okay. So then what evening watakuwa mbele, because they have had 3 lessons. So anyway, when we meet on, we have another class on Thursday. We still have a lot of time. By Thursday, we shall have gotten the solution. By Thursday, tutapata solution. So we can stop there for now. When we meet, we shall proceed. So we shall discuss about it on Thursday when I talk to the other teachers.